But we start today with a segment on citizen science with the head of the Rivers Trust, Mark Lloyd. Now, I say it's about citizen science, but as you're about to hear, it's actually about much, much more. We're all familiar with the challenges of climate change and the loss of biodiversity, of course. I say we all, but we have to carve out a special exemption for the current resident of the White House. Most of us, however, have seen the impacts all around us, in particular in our rivers. Now, what can be done to improve the situation? Well, I recently spoke with Mark Lloyd, the Chief Executive at the Rivers Trust here in the UK, and there are particular reasons why the UK is a good place to showcase a new approach to solving this problem, which Mark explains. Now, Mark has 35 years of rivers experience, and I started by asking him to explain what it is the Rivers Trust actually does.
So the Rivers Trust is the national representative body for the Rivers Trust movement, which is really a kind of collection of local community organisations, about 63 of them, I think, across the UK and Ireland, who do good stuff on rivers. So they put wetlands in, they plant trees, they re-wiggle rivers, they work with farmers to prevent pollution, they clean up litter, remove barriers to fish migration. So all this good stuff they do as local charities embedded in communities. And our job is to support them and encourage them and to find funding for them and to improve the context in which they operate with political lobbying.
I love that idea of re-wiggling rivers. Is it like you just do this and it all works, creating those meanders inside it? But re-wiggling is perfect. That describes it brilliantly. Now, the reason we're talking has been because in the UK, there's been a very important piece of work called the Cunliffe Report, which has sort of set the tone for things. Can you just share a bit about your perspective on what is the Cunliffe Report and how that's impacting you, what you're doing?
Yeah, well, you asked me for short answers, and it's a 474-page report or something like that. So, but I'm really excited about it because we had a change in government about a year ago in the UK, and they commissioned, an independent water commission to look at all aspects of water management. And I feel that this is a once in a generation, possibly once in a lifetime opportunity for us to sort out our water management and to look at the kind of really fundamental things, how regulation works, how planning works, how monitoring works, to fix our broken water system, which is not, led to any improvement at all in the health of our rivers for as long as I've been working in this business, apart from some local improvements. So strategically, we're really not making the progress we need to get to have healthy, resilient rivers. And I feel that this is an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and I think and the reason, so this is obviously going out to an international audience, but actually I think what we're doing in the UK with the Cunliffe Report and seeing how those recommendations are going to be adopted will cascade out. Other countries will look at what we've done and go, okay, well, that changed. So we do have, exactly as you described, a once in a lifetime, once in a generation opportunity to do something fundamentally different. The world is on fire, and here's an opportunity to try and correct some of the things that have gone wrong. Now,
yeah. And just on that, I mean, I think every country around the world that I visit and talk to people about rivers, they all face the same challenges that we face. It's just a different context, but everyone has these problems to a greater or lesser extent. There, different emphasis on different pollution sources and things, but everyone is wrestling with what to do about water, particularly in the context of climate change and biodiversity loss. So we are not alone in wrestling and finding this difficult. But I think we may be coming up with some exciting answers.
Now, so the reason we're talking today is because it's about the monitoring angle of it. And prior to this interview, I called it citizen science. And you said, no, it's much broader than the citizen science angle. So what is it? What's the story that you want people to hear about today?
Well, I think the first step to managing a river is understanding what the problem is and being able to measure what you've done to see how effective your intervention has been. And at the moment in the UK, we collect a lot of data, but we collect it all in separate organisations, and they all collect it, analyse it, and report it individually. So you get a small bit of data, but you don't see the big picture because it's not brought together into a common framework. And those data sources don't talk to each other. And often, in fact, the data isn't shared, or it's shared in such a format that it's buried in a sort of government website in an Excel spreadsheet that no one can understand. So our vision, I have a brilliant member of my team who's been working on this for about 15 years, has been trying to make this a reality, is to bring together multiple data sources from all of these organizations and then complement that with very large numbers of samples taken by citizen scientists, which won't be of evidential standard to enable a prosecution, but they will provide a really good big picture. And if those volunteers are trained and there's a purpose to what they're collecting their data, then that can form the foundation of a really rich picture of the health of our rivers, which enables us then to go forward and optimize solutions and to measure the impact of our interventions much better than we can at the moment.
Yeah. And I mean, the scale of that challenge, you don't have to do much to realize that when you talk about, there's all these multiple data sets, it's not like there's 5. there's 500 of them, and there's 500 of them in each region. I mean, so you've got both spatial and temporal and different types of data that's being gathered. I mean, this is an enormous task.
Yes, it is a huge task, and we've been running a program funded by the water regulator over the past few years, several £1 million program to try this out in 8 demonstration catchments, and each one has taken a different approach just to test out ideas about how it could work and what the benefits might be, it's been really interesting to see how that works. And in one region in particular, some volunteers went out and took lots of samples on the river, and they identified the fact that there was a pollution source that needed to be investigated. And then the Environment Agency was able to go in and say, oh, yes, we didn't know about that, and took some action and stopped that pollution going on. So at a micro scale, it works really well, but also at that macro scale, I think it just gives you that kind of big picture information about the health of rivers.
I think is such a wonderful and important story. Tell me about timelines. What are you hoping to achieve, and by when? When do you hope to get enough momentum behind this to mean that it's unstoppable? And how long will it take to get to a meaningful output?
Well, it's one of the aspects of coming out of the Cunliffe Commission. So in a way, it's ideal time for this idea for us to have done this testing, and then the government wanting to have a really good look at what it can do to fix water. So we are bringing forward proposals about how this might work, how you would involve all the different parties, and make it cost effective, because as ever, there isn't a lot of public money around, so we're hopeful that in the next year, this could get further funding from government to develop it further, and then possibly in 2 years' time we might have the beginnings of a system up and running. But it's been wonderful working on the project, because we have had 30 partner organisations involved in this, and it's quite a big project to bring together 30 partners and have them all working to a common objective. And I think, if we're going to crack water, that's what we need to do, is get everyone around the table who's involved and be gang up on the problem rather than each other.
Thank you, Mark. As he notes, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to turn the tide on the health of our rivers, and we wish you the very best.